All right, and we are live. This is COFOH Presents with Grieving. What a tough topic, really. And I'm here with my guest Theresa Mercado. How are you doing, Theresa?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for coming on. Weeks ago, you and I were talking about like programming ideas and different topics for doing online programming. Since COFO can't exist in the physical, it's got to exist right now in the digital, and to engage people online and you know kind of bring the community together as much as we can. Um, you know, I went to you, it's like, hey, what kind of interesting ideas would you have? And you had a really fantastic personal experience and topic that you wanted to, share with people. It being grieving, and especially over, your best friend at the time. Was it Babah, right?
Baba Wawa.
Babah Wawa. Oh, your pet dog. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that? About your experience with Babah, and how you know during during her passing, right? How you coped with that experience.
And I'm already getting choked up.
Okay.
So Baba, Barbara Walters, Babah Wawa Mercado, was more than just my pet dog. She was my partner and my companion. And I think anybody that's ever shared the love or known the love of an animal knows that connection, and that it's a completely unique relationship that you share with an animal companion. I've
Right.
loved animals my whole life. I've always had animals. Baba was the first dog that I got on my own as an adult person that was 100%, I was 100% responsible for her care without my parents' involvement. And I adopted her from a rescue situation. She had been just being used as a breeding stock. She was an American bulldog, maybe some pit bull or staffy in there. And she was living in basically spending 24 hours a day in a crate and being brought out only to be bred. And heartbreaking. Uh, and met her and instantly fell in love with her and got her spayed immediately and started our life together. She was 2 years old. And again, I'd had animals my entire life and, deep, profound relationships with animals. But there was something about Baba that was just, dare I say, like otherworldly. And the connection that her and I shared was amazing. I hope to not already be crying at like 30 seconds.
Oh, that's okay. We'll cry together. I am my mother's child.
And I lived alone. I bought a house and we lived in that house together I adopted her months after purchasing that house, and she passed away days after I moved out of that house. So our entire life existed in that house together, just the two of us living there. And she was my everything, my partner, my companion, my best friend, my joy.
Yeah.
And she would go with me everywhere that I could take her. And she definitely had a life outside of our relationship because I took her so many places, and she was so social and so socialized that she knew everyone I knew and then some. And, people had a hard time also just not falling in love with her because she was such a funny, social, loving creature.
Right.
I would draw little eyebrows on her. We'll look at some pictures later. So she was
That
funny.
was hilarious. Yeah.
And she was just a fun dog. She was funny. And sadly, she started slowing down, kind of what I thought was a little too young to be getting so tired. She was also really fucking lazy. She was the laziest dog in America. So it was also hard to tell, is she'd just be lazy and tired, or is something wrong?
Right.
And I took her to the vet, as you know, for her normal checkup, and they diagnosed her with something called Cushing's disease,
Oh,
which
what's that?
is a tumor that develops on your pituitary gland.
Okay.
And the vet told me it's very common. It's treatable with medication that will start shrinking the tumor, but it's going to slow her down. But nothing to be super concerned about.
Oh, yeah.
I think sadly, by the time that she was fully diagnosed, the tumor was already much bigger than any of us realized and was already starting to take her over a little bit. And by the time we got brain scans and everything, it was already determined that the tumor was about a quarter the size of her total brain mass.
Yeah.
They gave her about, I think, 4 to 6 weeks to live.
Oh.
And, surgery was not an option. It would be like sending her to another state and back tens of thousands of dollars. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It would just be keeping her alive for me, not for her.
Right, right.
I wanted her to live and die with dignity and not spend her last days trying to buy a few more days for me.
Right. Yeah.
So, I had also lost my father in 2014. And God, this was just like, and I don't want to diminish in any way losing a parent or losing a human being. I understand that this is an animal, and I don't want to, insult anybody, but like, she's talking about a fucking dog. Like, I've lost a human. I'd also lost my father a few years before that, and this, just losing a best friend on top of that. I mean, Babah was actually allowed in the hospital when my father passed away. She was laying in his hospital bed when he died, and he was a huge animal lover, and he loved her. And I mean, she'd been with me on my hardest days, my hardest times. And so once I got that diagnosis that she was not going to be around much longer, I am a collector of skeletal remains and skulls, most of which I pick up and I process and clean myself.
Yeah.
I have a very large collection at home of those kind of things. And I had been to a museum in Oklahoma City that is amazing. It's called Skulls Limited, and it is the biggest osteological museum in the country. And I had been there a little bit before her diagnosis, and it was such an amazing place. And they do you can actually contact them for private articulations.
Wow. Okay.
So once I found out that Babah was not going to be around much longer, I reached out to them and kind of discussed what that would entail. And they walked me through that process and let me know what I would need to do when the time came. And but there's a lot of things you can't control. If Babah's life was going downhill rapidly, I would have no qualms whatsoever about euthanizing her rather than her living in agony or suffering. So a lot of times if you have an animal euthanized, you don't get access to the body.
I see.
So it would have to be a situation also where she died naturally, which in all the animals I've ever had in my entire life, none of them have ever died naturally. They've all had to be put to sleep.
Right.
So it's like, well, the odds are probably not good, but this is an option. And I talked about it with Babah, and she was on board to live forever. So on May 18th of 2017, Babah died in her sleep, probably of a grand mal seizure.
Yeah.
As the tumor got so big, she passed away in her sleep.
Yeah.
And in her dog bed. And my last words to her before I tucked her in that night were, "I love you."
Oh.
And she died at home, surrounded by those she loves.
Yeah.
As we should all be so lucky.
Right. Right.
And I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hopefully, she had dreams of you, doing up her eyebrows with marker.
She looked fabulous up till the end. That I can guarantee you. And so that morning, I had to make that quick decision. So by some miracle, she died at home in her sleep. And she didn't have to be put down. So I immediately started the process of Babah's final journey, as we call it. which was to get her safely to Oklahoma City, which entailed getting her body frozen.
Oh, okay.
Would have to be hard frozen within a very small window of time before decomposition sets in.
Yeah.
So I have a very good friend who is a vet tech and maybe the biggest animal lover I know. And I reached out to her and she said, yep, get Babah over here. We're going to get her in the freezer at our vet's office and she'll be hard frozen in about 2 to 3 days. And then you can come back and get her and then we'll get her shipped off.
Okay.
So my best friend and I got her loaded up and got her over to the freezer and had, a final goodbye to her physical body as we knew it.
Yeah.
And her hard frozen. And then in a few days, another friend and I picked her up, got her over to the FedEx shipping center, and got her boxed up and ready to start her journey to Oklahoma City, where they would be articulating her skeleton.
Okay. Wow.
Her skeleton is right here behind me. So this is Babah. That's is 100% her real skeleton, all of her real bones. She is now a museum quality articulation. So the process, again, I called it Babah's final journey.
Yeah.
And she went off to Oklahoma City, and I would make 2 separate trips down there. One during the cleaning process, just because I'm very interested in all of that and wanted to see how it's going and meet the people. Yeah. And then I would make a final trip when the time came to pick her up with my partner. And then we would take a road trip with her skeleton to take her on one last final adventure. As we were avid travelers together, she traveled most of the country in her life. So it is a process that takes some time. So the process kind of starts once they receive the body. They will, defrost them. And this is a little graphic, trigger warning. I would think anybody watching this can kind of know what we're about to talk about. But so the first step is defrosting the body, and then they do what is called flaying, which is basically removing as much meat and tissue from the body as possible.
Okay.
And then from there, nature starts the process, and her body, her skeleton, will be cleaned by what are called dermestid beetles. If you've ever seen, a squirrel rotting on the sidewalk, which if you follow me on social media, you have.
Yeah.
So as soon as something dies, a fly comes. And a fly lays eggs on it, and those eggs hatch into maggots. Right. And maggots do the first round of natural cleanup. Thank God for maggots, or we'd have a lot of decomposing shit moving up and polluting and toxifying our world. So the maggots come in and they do the first round of cleanup, which is really getting in there and eating all that soft, nasty shit. Dermestid beetles, you've probably seen them without even knowing. They also just come when it's their time, and they're like a little worm thing, and then they turn into a beetle. And they do a really incredible, thorough cleanup down to bone and get the animal pretty much cleaned up. And there's some other, bugs that come in. So Babah would then be cleaned in an environment with dermestid beetles. And then her bones would be put through what is called like a degreasing process to get the grease out of them and get them whiter. And then she will go through a whitening process to get her bones as white as can be, what you think of when you see like a skeleton in a museum.
Almost bleached, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the final step would be for an articulator at the museum to put her back together. As you see behind me, she's on a stand. There's an armature that holds her up. There are connecting wires. Ribs, as you know, they kind of stop at your breast line. So there's some armature that holds her together. So the first time I went down to Oklahoma City, she had just come out of the Beatles.
Okay.
And I drove down there with a friend, and the team was amazing, and they had her all laid out for me. And again, we'll look at some pictures at the end so people can kind of see the process. But it was very incredible to see her insides.
Yeah.
That she was just as beautiful inside as she was out. and they had, you know, her different little sections. So her skull's here, and her little vertebra are in a bag, and her little, you know, metacarpals and metatarsals are in a bag, and just crazy to see, you know,
All those tiny little pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, these tiny little pieces in these little bags, and it was amazing and very moving. And in no way, shape, or form was it sad for me.
Right.
The only thing that made me sad is that she wasn't alive to see how badass she was. So meeting the team was also really cool. Like, I met the dude that actually took her physically apart, that cut her meat off her body.
Okay.
And I met the gentleman that was going to articulate her, and he walked through all the different bones in her body, showing me a lot of interesting things. I was really curious about with the brain tumor. You know, if you have a tumor for a very long time, it does start affecting bone.
Right.
A lot of times, like cats will get like an abscess tooth that goes untreated, and that shit starts eating into your actual bone.
Right.
So Babah, because her more or less situation was so rapid, there was no any kind of mark on the bone.
Oh, okay.
Her slowing down that I had mentioned, and the doctors, you know, it's just a brain tumor. It turns out that her actual physical deterioration and slowdown had actually nothing to do whatsoever with the brain tumor. But the gentleman, Clark, showed me she was suffering from devastating arthritis. And we could see actually in her ball joints that connected to her pelvis, to her hips, that so arthritis, which we'll all unfortunately get if we live old enough, it starts eating your bone, and you have hollow pockets and things they don't spin and they don't fit together the way they should anymore.
Right.
And her arthritis was so crazy. I mean, she had whole pockets of bone loss, and that's why she was in such physical pain.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart to see that it was misdiagnosed by the vet, which I don't blame them. I mean, she had a brain tumor. We thought that was everything that was going on.
Yeah.
I also wasn't able to recognize her inability to jump or run anymore. But she was probably in extreme physical pain from this arthritis. And myself, the doctor, we would have never, ever known this if we didn't see her skeleton after death.
Yeah.
So very educational experience, very interesting experience, and just, you know, showed me something on her insides I would have never known.
Right.
So then fast forward, so we're probably 2 months now past her passing.
Okay.
And then I come back and I get a call in late August that she's ready, and will they be shipping her or will I be picking her up? And I said, we're coming to pick her up. We're on Babah's final journey. We're going to take her skeleton on a damn road trip and show her some sights before she's housebound forever.
Where did you take her?
So my partner and I drove to Oklahoma City, and we picked her up and met the team again and packed her up. And then we did a little trek. We went through Amarillo, Texas. And
I have some great steak in Amarillo.
That's lots of great food in Amarillo. So we went camping with Babah and took her camping in a KOA campground. And she was a big camper and loved the outdoors. And then we came up through New Mexico and did a few stops there with her, which was awesome. Came back through Colorado and took her to Bishop's Castle, one of my favorite places in Colorado. And then hit some other places on the way home with her. And then got her back home in her crate. And we had another dog at the time who was blind and deaf.
Oh.
And as soon as we brought the crate home, we set the crate in our dining room. And our blind and deaf dog, Billy, immediately she would just bump her way through the house. And she bumped her way over into the crate and proceeded to lay down next to it.
Oh.
And quite honestly, she probably smelled there was bones inside.
Right. More of her stomach talking than anything.
But I wanted to believe that she knew her friend was back home in some capacity. And Billy proceeded to lay there for quite some time until we opened the crate, which I thought was a really beautiful experience that her little buddy was home.
Yeah.
So once Babah was back home, I didn't know how that would make me feel.
Okay.
I ended up feeling very kind of calm and relaxed, and knowing that she was here forever, and
Yeah.
that, her remains will outlive mine. When
Yeah.
I die and rot away, Babah will still be here. Her physical body, as it is now, will still be here. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
So we threw a party, Babah's homecoming party, for friends and people that were a part of Babah's life to come if they wanted to see that. I know it's not for everybody, but for
Yeah.
those that wanted to see her new form, we had a little coming out party, and folks could come and see her. And I think everybody that was invited came, so it wasn't too intense, and had her on display, and people were really amazed. I think the number one comment everybody said was, "Oh, she's so small."
Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot there when everything is stripped away. You're just a skeleton. You're just a little
big, beefy, dog, right? Lots of muscle.
Yeah, she was a big 65, 70-pound American bulldog, brick shit house of a dog. So
Yeah.
see her without that muscle, and it's kind of hard to tell behind me, but I mean, her collar, I had a hard time even buying collars for her. I had to get them like special order online because her neck was, huge.
Yeah.
And, but people were like, "Oh, she's so small," and a lot of just looking at her and looking at those inner workings, and we've all seen a skeleton in a museum or learned about skeletons in school, but it's not every day that you get up and close with a real one and you get to actually see what's in there. And her feet are also really crazy. She has her real toenails. If you've ever cut a cat or dog's nails, which if you own those animals, you have, and all of us have accidentally cut a little more than we should, and they bleed, and then the animal never forgives you and never lets you cut their nails again.
Right.
So we can see on Babah with her little toenails. So after the cleaning process, they become clear. And you can see inside each one how close the bone is to the quick, to the end of the nail, and how easy it is to cut too deep and make them bleed. And I think a lot of people were really most interested in her toenail anatomy and like, what is going on there? And oh, wow, it's really easy to cut them and hurt them, especially if your pet has like a black or colored toenail where you cannot see the quick.
Oh, sure.
People were very fascinated by her toenails. She was also, because she was such a strong and muscular dog, her shoulder blades, which is, what pulls your muscles and it makes a dog cool, were incredibly like striated with lines. And that was because they had held so much muscle and pulled so much weight over the course of her life. And that was really interesting to see as well. Sorry.
You see where all the ligaments and everything, attached to the bone.
Exactly.
Kind of tells its own story.
And she also had a pretty substantial underbite, as most bully breed dogs do. So, she's got the jaw way out here, and she had lost a couple teeth in the course of her life she ate a rock and one broke, and then we were playing tug of war and one broke. So she had a couple teeth removed in her life.
Yeah.
So it was also just cute because her little skull has this crazy underbite and some missing teeth. It's just cute to see that and what it looks like once the teeth are out of your mandible.
Right.
But we were very happy and honored to share her experience in her new body with friends and people that were interested in seeing that. Mm-hmm. And she lives in our home now, so I get to see her every single day. We have 2 new dogs that we've since adopted, and we keep Babah up high because we sure hate one of the dogs to start chewing on her.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Normally, where does Babah hang out? Where's she displayed at?
So Babah was a big movie watcher, like her mom. Yes. So Babah hangs out kind of between our living room, so she can always watch movies with us. That was one of her favorite hobbies. And then she's in this kind of middle room partition that separates our living room from a sunroom. So she has a big window so she can always look outside and see the squirrels and see the changing of the seasons. And so she can watch her movies and still see reality as well. My reality, I'm obviously insane.
That I think that's, a fantastic and unique way to, bring about some sense of peace after, losing a loved one like that. If it was a human, some people would have them cremated and still keep the remains, in the same room. So this is, I think, a unique way of going through this process and having a piece of that loved one with you always.
Yeah, I think for me, when my father died, he had been suffering from a long illness for some point, so we knew that he was not going to last forever. And when that time came, he had very specific requests. He wanted to be cremated, okay. And when I had to deal with all of that afterlife stuff with the funeral home and crematorium and all that, I requested if there was any way that I could keep some of his skeletal remains.
Right.
And the crematorium said that they were not allowed to do that, which of course I understand. And then, typically after cremation, there's a pulverization process because there's still things that don't burn in the oven. There's teeth, right, and there's chunks and there's stuff. So they pulverize and break it all up into dust, and that's what you get back.
Yeah.
But I won't name this crematory because
right
to do that. But they did actually save me one kind of big bone chunk of my father, which I have memorialized in a case. And then he's also kind of separated into the dust, and then there is some bone bits.
Okay.
And something kind of crazy, which I didn't realize until I had it with his cremains, is he had numerous silver fillings, real silver fillings. And
okay,
in the crematory oven, that silver melts, obviously, because that oven is so hot, and all that silver melts, and it all found each other.
Okay.
It all came together. So in his cremains, there is a big, gnarly, not big, I'm making this hand like it's this big. It's like,
that much fillings, huh?
There's a big, crazy, like asteroid, meteoroid.
That sounds about right. That sounds like a good increment of measurement.
Yes, there's a big meteoroid-sized chunk of silver that was in my dad's cremains that was really interesting. As I was rooting through those, and I was like, oh, that's so crazy. All his fillings like found each other and melted together. How cool.
Yeah.
So he's in, my display case as well, in his powder and his chunks and in his bone piece. I, as someone that collects dead things and appreciates the beauty that is decomposition,
yeah,
I think it is such a waste and just sucks to like put something in the ground and forget about it.
Right.
And, I mean, no disrespect to any people's grieving or any people's practices after death, but I can only speak for me personally. And I don't believe in burying something in the ground. I don't plan on being buried in the ground myself. I would like to be put on display and have like a time-lapse camera turned on where people can watch me decompose and see how beautiful that will be. And I would love my skeleton to live with some sick fucker like myself, or a museum, or someone that can bring people over and look at it and appreciate, that beauty of inside. To just put something in the ground and just not be able to see that transition into that next plane. And what a waste.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of brings us to the next portion of the topic is, culturally, how do we grieve? Death in itself is such a hard topic to talk about, with amongst our family and friends. It's a natural part of life, and we tend to deal with it, I think, in some kind of begrudging manner, and we have to confront it, like, when it happens. There are people out there that do sit there and they plan and they walk their family through. These are my final wishes. This is how I want to go out and everything,
which is great.
Yeah. And but at the same time, sometimes we're just not, it's such uncomfortable topic. So I think listening to your story and how you worked with Babah's passing and working with her remains and everything is in a way I think therapeutic. Hopefully it'll encourage people to start talking about this more, and just kind of coping with these ideas that we're all going to die someday.
Hopefully.
What's that?
Hopefully.
Oh wow, yeah, true. Otherwise, we're all gonna be really lazy vampires. Yeah. Oh gosh,
who would want to live forever?
No, I've seen The Hunger. No, it doesn't end well for some people.
Exactly.
It just keeps going, and you're stuck in a coffin.
Yeah, and going back to what you're saying, also, specifically with American culture that we live in, we as an American culture are very, it is very uncomfortable for many people to talk about death. It's very uncomfortable for many people to discuss their final wishes or their final plans with their families or loved ones, which does leave those people in a very shitty situation when someone passes and they don't know what to do and they want to respect someone's wishes but maybe don't know what those are. And I think it is imperative to have those really difficult conversations with your family and your loved ones about what happens when I'm not going to be here anymore. And right. I think a lot of that stems from, well, people have obviously a fear of death. They don't want to imagine that they won't be here. But also, our culture here in the U.S. is that of, again, we hide death away. We bury people in the ground. We cremate them, never to be seen again. And, most other cultures, European cultures, Asian cultures, most other cultures, death is not that way. Bodies are on display. Skeletal remains are on display. In Paris, you can go to the catacombs and pay 13 euros and look at 3 million skeletons underground. That, it's art, it's respectful, it is a celebration of life and death. And those people are put on display. What an honor to be able to be put on display like that. I think it's like the ultimate honor. And so many churches and things have skulls and have bodies. And, I thoroughly enjoy traveling and seeing those kind of things and just seeing how other cultures celebrate death. There's even cultures that they dig up the bodies after they've been buried and have, some level of mummification, but there is still some decomposition. And they dig up those corpses. And I'm sorry, corpse is even a disrespectful term. They dig up that family member or that friend and they party with them before returning them to the ground for another year, however often. Like, I think that's so incredible. But I'm sure there's a lot of people and a lot of Americans that are like, that's some ghoul shit.
Yeah. And to that point, I mean, that's how they cope. That's how they deal with it. And it's, here, we have the funeral, we have the burial, whether it's a casket or, have a wake or something. It also depends too, what culture you come from or what religion, what kind of background. And you've got those different steps that you need to recognize within those cultures. So that's that's always pretty interesting. But yeah, I think to what you were speaking about, it's like I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way to grieve, but I think like what we were talking about earlier with Americans in particular, it's a tough conversation, and we need to bridge that gap and start that process early too.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a wrong way to grieve, but I think grieving it's a part of life. And if you have never had to grieve, I'm so happy for you, but it's also only a matter of time. And it's a very natural process. Like, the longer we live, you will lose people you love.
Yeah.
That is a guarantee. and grieving is a very natural process and in a healthy process. And I think the only wrong thing is not allowing yourself to grieve and to process those emotions. And
Yeah.
but of course, there's no wrong way to do that. We all experience loss in different ways. And
Yeah.
again, with Babah, with an animal companion, to me, again, she gave me an incredible gift, which was, 7 years of a partner and a companion.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that gift and that friendship that we shared. And she continued giving me a gift even after life, which was giving me, her physical remain. What a beautiful gift. Like, what an amazing thing for her to continue sharing with me.
Yeah. I know, I think you and I talked about this when we started talking about, putting together this program, and did taxidermy ever come up, or was it a consideration? I honestly, I can't recall, why you didn't go that route.
So I do collect a little bit of taxidermy as well. It's definitely not my favorite thing that I collect, but there is quite a few taxidermy pieces in our home. I do feel very strongly about. I don't see the point of taking something dead and trying to make it look alive.
Right.
What interests me is living animals. I love them.
Yeah.
Dead animals. I love them also. I'm not interested in trying to take something that is no longer alive and trying to make it look alive. So I had never considered taxiderming Babah. I know a lot of people do taxidermy pets, and to each their own. And for me, that was not something that I considered. I would not want to get up every morning and see a taxidermied version of Babah. That would be the opposite emotions that I get with her skeleton. Is no matter how good a taxidermist is, no matter how realistic they could have made her look, they didn't know her in life, and it wouldn't look like her. It wouldn't be her. It wouldn't have her expressions and emotions. And honestly, it would probably make me really depressed and sad to see that version of her every day. Whereas this version of her, it fills me with joy and curiosity and fascination day in, day out.
Yeah, since it was created for a museum, it's very museum, appropriate display too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I get what you're saying too about the taxidermy. It might come off as dispassionate. I have very limited experience with any type of taxidermy. To me, it's just it looks fake.
It is fake. You're trying to take something dead and make it look alive. There's nothing more fake.
Right. I when it comes to taxidermy, I like the stuff that they tried. It's clearly really fake to the point where it's caricature, and that part I find entertaining. But yeah. Do you want to share with us some of the photos that you have in the process?
Just so kind of, since we're doing this, so people can't see the different stuff. So give me 1 minute. I'm just going to share some screen, and we'll go through just some quick here. Give me just one moment.
Certainly.
All right. So here's just a picture. Can you see that?
Let me add it to the stream. It's
there's a picture of Babah in life. And this just kind of shows her very large physical body. She's about the same size as me. She was amazing. We were connected at the hip.
There it is.
What a good picture. She was amazing. She was beautiful. All of that stuff.
She is a big dog. She's like 2/3 your size.
Yeah, she was a very big dog. Here's a picture of her sunbathing. You can see her eyebrows in all their glory. She would fall asleep sitting upright. She was, again, the laziest dog in America. You just look over and she was just upright, snoring, sound asleep. She loves sleeping and sunbathing.
Nice.
And there's just a picture of her chilling, being beautiful with her little eyebrows in the sunbeam.
Oh, okay. It almost looks like the eyebrows got washed off.
Yeah, it's a lot of maintenance keeping the eyebrows on her.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta
Um,
wipe that off.
this
Oh,
was
wow.
this photo was taken by a photographer, Haley Carnifex. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So when I very first adopted Babah,
Yeah.
this photographer Haley, she took pictures of Babah and I together when we first got together. And then when the news came out that Babah would be passing soon, she was so amazing. She reached out to me and offered to take some end of life photos of Babah.
Oh.
So this exact photo was taken when I first got her, and then this was her at the end of life. And she looks really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
She was experiencing some blow and some different stuff going on with her body.
Okay.
But it was cool to just that this photographer was so sweet and so she'd met her at the beginning of her life and wanted to capture the end of her life, and I really appreciated that. So that was kind of one of Babah's last photos, and that was just a few days before she passed away. Same photographer, Haley, beautiful Babah. This is Babah's last hot dog. Babah loved hot
Making
dogs.
some lunch.
Babah was going to Home Depot because we'd always get hot dogs. So this was also just a few days before she passed away, and she couldn't really walk long distances anymore.
Okay.
So we put her in the shopping cart and we'd go to Home Depot and we'd get her hot dog and we'd both share our hot dogs. That was something that she enjoyed up until the end. And she's pretty frail there, but she could still enjoy the little things like a good hot dog.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So this a little much, but this was Babah on the morning that she had passed away.
Oh.
And her little lifeless paws. She's got like a little mark here because they had been drawing blood for so long, and she was on prednisone, which is like a pretty hardcore steroid, trying to shrink that tumor, and your hair stops growing. Her hair never grew back. And then here is Babah post life. So this is at Skulls Unlimited, and you can see all of her bits and bobs and all of her glory. And obviously her skull. Here's all of her long bones, which are her leg bones, her shoulder blades, her vertebra, and then all of her little bits and bobs are in these bags. Her rib cage is up here. Kind of a trip to see her first time like that. And you can see, like in these long bones, they're much different coloration. They're so much darker because they're a lot greasier in the bone marrow. So that's where they'll do that whitening process. So they're as white as her skull.
Okay.
This next picture shows her skull being held by the gentleman that would later articulate her. So they put everything in these mesh bags so nothing gets lost. If a tooth falls out or something, everything is accounted for. You're paying a kind of top quality dollar for this. Also, you don't want to get your animal back and there's, we couldn't find their left toe or their molar fell out. So everything's very organized. There's barcodes on all the bags so they can scan exactly what animal it belongs to.
Okay.
There's no question of, am I getting my animal back? Am I getting someone else's animal? Are these my animal's parts?
I sent you a dog. I got a kitten. What's going on, guys?
And I'm sure you've read, but there's been a history, unfortunately, with the I don't even want to call it compassion services, but there's a lot of places over the course of time with cremation of animals where they would just mass cremate, which is a thing that is done. They have to tell you that, and you have that choice to have a mass cremation or have an individual cremation. It is illegal to mass cremate and not tell the person that. So a lot of times people were cremating an animal assuming that it was them solo and getting back those ashes, and then they're just getting a mixture of ashes, which that is common practice, but that has to be communicated with the person. So in this situation, I think how devastating you'd be if you're like, this is some other dog's skeleton, like, are you serious? So they're very, very meticulous in keeping everything together and organized. So this is Babah's skull. You can see that crazy underbite that I was talking about and some of her missing teeth. And just crazy. I did have her teeth professionally cleaned twice in her life, and you can see nice and healthy, and she had no gingivitis or no
Oh, jeez.
raw or anything. In her
It,
school, it's really
is,
cool and beautiful.
is this like after the bleaching process?
So this is actually even before whitening. So
Oh, no kidding. It's very clean.
already looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And she's even whiter now, obviously, in her display. Here's her mandible separated from her skull, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And again, there's like a numbering system, so everything is together and organized. And this is, again, the gentleman that put her together. Here's a little bit of what I was saying before with that really extreme arthritis. This is her pelvis. Here is ball joint where your long bones would go, so your main mobility. And you can kind of see this in here is all of this should be smooth, very smooth. And it's all kind of gnawed up, and there's some cavities here, and this is like missing some, chunks are gone. So you just think about that ball is kind of scraping in there when it should be smooth on smooth. So that generates an extreme amount of pain. And it was really interesting to see that. Again, made me feel terrible that was not diagnosed, but very fascinating to see that deterioration of the bone over time. And we'll, again, all probably get arthritis as we age. It's a very natural, common thing. Here's me just delighted and elated to be holding Babah's skull in my hands.
Yeah.
And you kind of see the scale too of, it's a pretty decent sized skull. But, just very excited. And Babah also, I'm a strong lipstick wearer, and I always would Babah, she'd always have a big smooch on her forehead. And you can see that smooch soaked all the way through her hair, all the way through the bone. That's how strong my love was. And so as part of her articulation, they also took these amazing photographs.
Yeah, those are absolutely fantastic.
So these are cool professional photos that I couldn't take myself. And these are really cool to see all of her, since you guys can't see her in full detail behind me, but just what an amazing job. And, there's some little wires, and how much work goes into putting somebody back together is pretty crazy. It's
quite the armature too, because it's all got to be structurally sound in order to get that.
Absolutely. So they drill very, very tiny holes in a lot of the bones and connect it with very thin wire. There's also an armature structure that is like 2 metal posts that support her. And again, we drove her back from Oklahoma City, and I was not breathing for most of it, just like, don't hit that bump.
Right.
She got back in one piece. I mean, they're professionals. This is what they do. Here you can kind of see the stand and a little bit of that metal armature that holds up her throat and holds up the back of her spine.
Wow.
But she is solid.
Yeah.
Pretty damn solid. I wouldn't be, throwing a football at her, but she is solid. Here's a great one. Here you can kind of see those toenails that I was talking about. So they're yellow and they look like they're plastic. They are not. That is her real toenail material. It's just clear once everything's been sucked out of it. And then you can kind of see how close that bone is to the end. So you got a very little area before you clip too close and hurt them. But very crazy to see the toenails and what is inside of those. Is very cool. She also, her tail was cropped, unfortunately, not ever by me, but before I got her, some fucker had cut off her tail and cropped it way too short. So when she had a butt, her butt went out all the way here. And so her little tail, her little nub is just this tiny little thing, but kind of crazy to see what cropping also looks like. You're cutting a dog's tail off. You're removing their vertebrae. It's definitely, in my opinion, mutilation and extremely painful for an animal.
Yeah. Oof.
So this is obviously me and my partner, Brian, who's amazing and goes along with all of my craziness. And this is some of the team from Skulls Unlimited, and there's Babah, and they're packing her up and wrapping her up for us so we could hit the road with her. And they were so cool. I really connected with them, and we stayed in touch as pen pals, and I send them a Christmas card every year. And they're just a really amazing team of people who love what they do. and have respect for animals and have respect for this preservation process.
Yeah.
And if you're ever in Oklahoma City when the world returns, I highly recommend going and visiting them.
Is that something? Is this a service that they regularly, have available for people, with pets that have just passed away?
Their bread and butter is they operate 2 museums, one in Orlando, Florida, and one in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
That are skeletal osteological museums. They do offer private services like this. You just have to reach out, but they will put together a cat, a gerbil, a dog, whatever you want and can pay for. They are happy to put it back together.
Okay.
And they do that quite frequently. And he had some really interesting stories about, he's put together whales, he's put together giraffes, he's put together a shrew.
Wow, that's really tiny.
They will put together whatever you provide.
Okay, interesting.
And here's the crate she was in, so pretty heavy duty crate. He's filling it with a little biodegradable peanuts.
Nice.
For us to get ready to hit the road. And then there is Babah loaded up into the minivan to start her drive back to Denver from Oklahoma. And then here is her once she got back. And here's our dog Billy, our little blind deaf Billy, who could curl up next to the crate with Babah, which was really interesting.
And at the same time that we as humans are grieving, our lost, friends and loved ones, animals do the same thing. They have their processes too.
Absolutely. And unlike a human where you can explain something to a person or they understand the process, you can't sit down and explain that to another animal of why that other animal's not in the house anymore. And Billy was in our house, of course, when Babah passed away, and she sniffed her body and sniffed where she had passed away. And I don't know how animals kind of process that or they communicate that, but I definitely know that animals also mourn and definitely grieve and miss their companions. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. You'll see that too, like in the wild, like crows and blackbirds and ravens. They'll get together and yes. You can hear them caw and kind of circle around their fallen compatriot.
Elephants also are very known for actually having funeral services for lost ones and absolutely. I mean, animals are amazing and how could they not grieve? How could they not miss those they had lives with?
Right.
Here's little Babah. We're unpacking her, getting her out of the crate, got all the peanuts out, and there she is, like a little Amazon package delivered at your door.
With way better care.
Yeah, way better care. There she is, kind of all unwrapped, getting ready for her forever home. And then a very good friend of mine, Amy Brady, who is an artist and printmaker, who was very close friends with Babah. She was so sweet. She volunteered to make a limited edition prints of Babah's skeleton for everybody that attended Babah's coming home party. So she did these beautiful prints, each one by hand, and everybody got to take one home with them to commemorate Babah's final day. And then all of these bones on the table were bones that Babah and I had found together while hiking or camping or traveling. Everybody also got a little memento to take home that Babah had found herself while she was out in the world. So a little keepsake. And then
you guys went on a lot of adventures together.
Yeah, I mean, as you do a best friend or a partner, you have a life together, and we definitely had that. And this was on the back of those prints, and these are just some words that I put together that have always been helpful to me in times of loss. There is no death. There is only birth and birth and birth and birth. Consider the trees that allow the birds to perch and fly away without calling them back. If your heart can be like a tree, you'll be close to the way. When the multitude laughs at you, you are blessed. This is what Babah wants us to know. I departed as air. I shake my white fur at the runaway sun. I bequeath some of myself to the dirt to grow from the grass I love. If you want me again, look for me under your boot soles. You will hardly know who I am or what I mean, but I shall be good health to you nevertheless. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere waiting for you. And that is from Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. But those have been some words that have always comforted me in times of loss. That, there really is no such thing as death. There is just birth and birth and birth. And we continue to live on in the things we love, in the memories, and the grass under our feet.
Yeah, that's sweet. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that, Theresa. That's very special. Hopefully, for those watching out there too, this will, encourage you to, talk to loved ones and, kind of an approach, this subject as tough and sometimes delicate as it might be. It doesn't have to, as long as it's put out there on the table, and keep revisiting it, and just make it a little bit more commonplace, so that when something happens, heaven forbid it does to our friends and family, but when it does, you're a little bit better prepared and have better tools to cope, and know that there's creative ways to honor and respect those that have departed.
Yeah. And Daniel, I know you and I had talked a little bit offline of just, obviously we're living in unprecedented times right now with COVID and so many other things going on. And there is an incredible death toll happening right now that, we have never seen in our lifetimes. And, it's devastating. People are losing people they love rapidly. And it's an incredibly serious matter. And, none of us know. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow morning crossing the street. You just never know. Our lives are finite. And I do think it is a really important thing to have those conversations, as painful as they can be, with your loved ones. And, none of us are going to last forever. And, that is a gift to a loved one or family member, of taking that stress, some of that stress off of them when you're gone. Of what did they do? It's a horrible time losing a loved one, especially if you have to do all that practical stuff. You're grieving, you're mourning, but you also have to set up arrangements and do those practical things. And if you have some guidance from that loved one to fulfill their wishes, that's an amazing gift also to give somebody before you go, instead of just leaving them in the darkness to figure all of that out, and perhaps risk them not doing things the way you would have liked them to be done.
Right. No, yeah, most definitely. It is, it's crucial. Wow. Theresa, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I know it's very personal, and but I think you're a brave soul. And if Brian's off camera, thanks Brian for helping set this up, and supporting Theresa and Babah.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me, and thank you for letting me share that story with people. And also just want to throw it out there, if and when anyone is ever interested in doing something like this to memorialize a pet, I am more than happy to discuss the process in more thorough detail, or give contacts. I know it's not for everybody, but some people have mentioned, wow, I didn't even know that was an option. I wish I would have known that when my cat passed away. I would have done that. I'm more than happy to share my experience with anybody who might ever be interested, if that is a thing.
Well, would you like to share an email address with
yeah, sure. People can definitely email me. So my email is my last name, Mercado, MERCADO .Theresa, THERESA @gmail.
Okay.
And obviously I would keep, our conversation private and, respect all of that. But yeah, always happy to share experiences and any intel or information I have with anybody that might be interested.
Fantastic. Well, Theresa, thanks again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah. Well, and to everybody out there, hug your loved ones, lots and lots of, if you can, because it's still, we're still in a pandemic.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So to everybody out there, I'm Dan Crosier with Theresa Mercado, and you guys have a good night. Be good and be kind.